All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to break down the growing concern around Chinese land purchases right here in the United States, digging into the national security questions being raised by groups like the America First Policy Institute. And let's be clear, this isn't some far-off hypothetical problem. This is a direct quote from the U.S. Air Force. They called a planned Chinese-backed project a significant threat to national security. That single line really captures the seriousness of what we're talking about today.
So how in the world did a simple corn mill become a national security issue? Well, it all starts with what look like totally ordinary business deals, except they were happening in some very, very extraordinary locations. Okay, so check this out. These two projects are what really set off the alarm bells. You had the corn mill in North Dakota, just a stone's throw from a really important base for air and space ops. Then, down in Texas, a plan for a wind farm popped up near a major training hub for Air Force pilots. Now, both of these projects were eventually stopped, but not before they raised some massive red flags.
So you're probably asking, a corn mill? A wind farm? How are those a threat? And that's the right question. The answer, surprisingly, is found in a specific Chinese law from 2017 that completely changed the game for U.S. security officials. This right here, this is the absolute core of the issue. The analysis we're looking at points to this law, which basically says any Chinese company, any Chinese citizen anywhere in the world has to cooperate with Beijing's intelligence agencies if asked. And there's no opt-out clause.
And that leads security analysts to this pretty stark conclusion. Because of that law, the potential is always there. It means the physical location of the land, its proximity to something sensitive, is what matters most, not what the business says it's for. The location itself becomes the threat.
Now, you might see a number like this and think, wait a minute, less than 1%? That's it? That's a tiny fraction. What's all the fuss about? And you know what? That's a totally fair question. Because, as it turns out, this isn't about the quantity of the land. It's not about a massive takeover of American farmland. It's all about the strategic location and the potential for a new kind of threat that has very little to do with farming. What's really wild is just how quickly the perception of this threat has evolved. Just a few years ago, the conversation was about food. Now analysts are talking about a whole different playbook, one that includes sabotage, surveillance, and even cyber warfare. I mean, just look at this shift. In 2022, when you heard politicians debating this, it was all about, we need to protect America's food supply. Fast forward just 2 years to 2024 and boom, the conversation has done a complete 180. Now it's all about national defense and the risks of having these operations near our military bases. So what are these new threats exactly? Well, analysts are looking at a few things. First, there's a concept called agroterrorism. Imagine small drones launched from a nearby field to attack crops or spy on a base. Then there's infrastructure sabotage. There was a real case in Wyoming where a crypto mine was set up just a mile from a nuclear missile base, and the fear was it could be used to mess with a local power grid. And finally, there's data espionage. Owning a data center could be the perfect front to get a backdoor into sensitive American networks. And remember, it's not just about buying empty plots of land. We're also talking about acquiring huge, established American companies. When Smithfield Foods was bought, a Chinese firm suddenly controlled a massive slice of the U.S. pork industry. The Syngenta deal was another big one. It handed over advanced agricultural tech and data to a Chinese state-owned company.
Okay, so with all this going on, what's actually being done about it? Well, the response is kind of all over the place. We're seeing action at the state level, the federal level, and even internationally, but it's not exactly a coordinated, unified strategy. Here in the US, a whole bunch of states, we're talking over 2/3, have decided to take matters into their own hands, passing their own laws. But this creates what analysts call a patchwork defense. You've got different rules in different states, which can leave some pretty big loopholes and gaps in our national security. Now, it's interesting to compare what we're doing to an ally like Japan. While the US is focused on blocking sales state by state, Japan has built a more centralized national system. They're all about monitoring and collecting data on any foreign land purchase near their sensitive sites. It's a more proactive, data-first approach, and the analysis suggests it's something worth looking at. And all of this, it brings us to this really fundamental tension. This is the tough part for a country like the United States, which has been built, in many ways, on being open to foreign investment. Let's be super clear.
The goal here, according to this analysis, isn't to just shut the door on all foreign investment. Not at all. The real challenge, the really tricky part, is figuring out how to tell the difference between a legitimate business deal and one that could be used for another country's strategic goals. And that leaves us with this final, really challenging question. In a world that's so interconnected, how does a country protect its most vital assets without closing itself off from the global economy that helped to make it strong? Where exactly do you draw the line between an investment and a threat?